Welcome to Pray for Our Youth Ministry. I'm your brother in Christ, Brother Mcqueen, company coach. By now you've watched some of it, you know the different titles you can call me. I want to talk to you today about discovering yourself. The scriptures that we're going to use today are going to come from Romans chapter 6, verse 13. I suggest you take a minute to get a pencil to write these down, because this series will probably be at least a two-part series. Romans chapter 6, verse 13. Romans chapter 3, verse 12. Revelation chapter 3, verse 23. Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. St. John 3:16. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 3. Acts chapter 4, verse 12. Titus chapter 2, verse 13. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 15. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16 and 17. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 51 and 52. And John 5, 28 and 29. Those are the verses that we're going to cover during the two parts. I want to talk to you over today about discovering yourself as a young person. I want you to think about the state that you're in right now. Think about the state of mind that you're in. Okay, whether things are going well for you or things are not going too well for you, you know that. And it's no coincidence that you're watching this video, because I believe the word that God has given me to share with the young people will help you to have a better understanding. I believe that a lot of churches have good youth programs, but I also believe that there's a lack there for young people, especially between the age of 21 to 30, because many times there are a lot of questions that are not answered, and I believe that that age group needs more attention that the church is able to give them. So God had prompted me with youth. God had prompted me with Praying for Our Youth Ministries to be able to bless you in that way. Discovering who you are has more to do with you knowing more about who God is. So many people don't even think for themselves. They don't study for themselves. They just take someone else's advice and start to run. That can work for a certain time period. Then suddenly you realize there's an emptiness inside of you. Only Jesus Christ can fulfill that emptiness. Are you so busy that you don't have time to be concerned about your soul issues? You're not concerned about where you would go if you had a car accident and died today? Maybe you think you are too young to die. Maybe you think it's impossible to be killed while you are at a nightclub. Someone watching the video at some point, or someone, it could be a number of people, will have had a gun placed to your head, and you were selling drugs and should have been killed, but the gun did not go off. That was your warning there by God. There was time for you to get your life right with Jesus Christ by receiving Jesus Christ in your life. Someone watching the video as well would have walked away from accidents that would have taken the life of someone else. But you walked away, some of you walked away with maybe minor injuries or without scars at all. And you wonder how this happened. You may have thought that after you walked away from that you're some superhero, that you're some special hero, that you walked away from it. But that's not the answer. I'll tell you why as we go along. But you walked away without any scars. Some young ladies watching the videos could be young African American women, could be young Caucasian women, young Caucasian men, young African American men. But some young women watching this video, you have several close calls in which you could have been raped or even pregnant because you placed yourself in very compromising positions. You were going to places, dangerous places, and you placed yourself in very compromising positions, smoking dope, drinking, passing out, just reckless living, and for some reason you haven't had a serious incident yet, and you're wondering why. Maybe you also think that you're invincible, but that's not the case. I'll tell you why as we go along. I may not get to your certain situation that took place, but God knows and you know as well. What has taken place in your life as a curtain call that you need to take note to God calling you. Some young man or some young lady, you may have found a knife at your throat because you were in a place that you shouldn't have been. Even though your parents told you to stay away from that place, stay away from those individuals, because the law is watching those areas, you still choose to go there and be disobedient. And you risk serious injuries and even death. You walked away and you could have lost your life. And you wonder, wow, that was a close call. And young ladies, many of you have had several close calls, and what you feared one of the worst. And the young man feared the worst because he didn't want to be paying the child support. You and the young man, some young ladies, some men, you have scratched your head many times because you thought the young lady was pregnant, and she thought you were pregnant too. Several scares, but you continue to dabble into sex without being married. And you wonder, wow, you must be Superman, that each time it came up negative. But that's not the case. Suicide is a very serious issue in our country with young people. So it is not just limited to Afro-Americans, Caucasians, Mexicans, one group of people. It is a growing problem in our country. And I would not be surprised if some of you that watch this video within the next week or months or whatever, a year, some of you will have two things that happen. One, you have contemplated committing suicide on several occasions. And during those occasions, you thought about committing suicide. Two things happen. You heard voices from the enemy telling you may be a young black male, a young black female, or Caucasian male, female, doesn't matter. And the enemy is telling you that your life is worthless. Your economy is bad. You can't keep a job. You may be a young lady with 2 kids, no husband. You may be a young black male with no job, and you see society look down on you, and all the pricks around you, whatever your situation may be, and Satan tells you to end it all right now. And you may have picked up the knife and had it to your throat or had it through your chest. You may have went into the medicine cabinet and got the drugs and went to get some water, and you were about to take those drugs. Or it could have been a gun. You may have a weapon at home, and you may have placed a gun to your head, to your chest, somewhere, and the devil said, now, do it now, end it now, end it now, end it now, end it now, with the drugs, end it now, with the knife, end it now. However, it was a Satan that tempted you, and then you hear another voice say, no, stop, I love you. I gave my life on the cross for you. And you stopped. But you went back and you tried it again. And you tried it several times. And yet God says, stop. I gave my life for you. Your finances, your marriage, your legal problems, your family issues, your health issues, your social issues, and relationships, and other areas of your life as a young person may be messed up because of some of the bad decisions you have made. Some areas of your life may be lacking simply because the devil is attacking you, because he wants to keep you down. He wants to destroy you. And some of you, God wants to help you, but you refuse to get help. Some of you choose to believe Satan lies that everybody in church is a hypocrite. Church is not for young people. Church is for the old people. Church, God can't help me. God can't even help the people in the church. You look at some young Christian men and women, and you try to judge their life. You may be saved and you may be unsaved, and you try to judge their life and say, because of what you've seen, for these reasons, God can't get me out of this mess. With that kind of deceptive attitude, you might as well take your bed and get comfortable. You may be in for a long ride. You need to change your attitude. Today at church, a pastor named at my church, the church I attend, a pastor whose name I was, one of the pastors of the church, it's a pretty big church, whose name I want will be anonymous, was talking to the people of God about the mission trip they were getting ready to go on. And he was telling the church how his attitude toward life changed after because he went on this trip as well. And the church was preparing to go again. And he was telling some other people that you should really go on this trip, because it gives you a chance to really discover yourself. And his pastor said that he was raised up in the projects. He was a white male raised up in the projects. And that he was just ashamed that he was raised up in the projects. He was ashamed that he was raised in the projects. He was angry. He felt angry inside. He was angry with the world because he felt that he was raised up in the projects and he should have been raised up there. But he said, when he went to Venezuela, it changed his life. He discovered who he was, and he realized that he really wasn't poor, because he had something very important. He had Jesus. But not only that, but also he said he found that the people in that country, they were going to that country and they were building, the church are doing missions in the church, they're building several churches in that area. But he said that when he got to Venezuela, he began to see how the people were lacking things that he took for granted for. He realized that he really wasn't poor. And he said those events those were events that changed his life. And he also took a daughter with him too, and his daughter began to tell about how going to Venezuela had changed her life and how she felt compelled to just do the little small things while she was there to be a part of what was going on in Venezuela. And we're going to continue with part 2. We're going to stop right here and we're going to start back with part 2 of Discovering Your Life very shortly.